Sandy Says Read. Welcome back to the channel. You guys, today we are going to talk about vampires, and specifically The Giaour by Lord Byron. Before we get started, I have to tell you a story, sort of. If you've been following the channel for any length of time, or if you've read my blog, Sandy Says Read, over at Sandy Lender Inc., or if you've read my poetry collection, you know I have neighbors with boundary issues. I don't think they're going to have boundary issues after today. When my neighbors come to my door, I don't always answer it. Today, I decided I would answer because they need to know a crazy woman lives here and they need to avoid the crazy woman. And I think after today, they might. All right, we're going to talk about the Jower because I want to talk about the origins of the vampire. Lord Byron's The Jower is, in literature, the first instance or the first reference to a vampire. Yay! And then, a couple years after it was published, we had the famous Vacation in Switzerland, where Lord Byron and his physician, who we'll talk about in a minute, and Percy Shelley and Mary Shelley went on vacation together, and thank God it rained for 2 weeks. So they were able to tell ghost stories and write down ghost stories. This physician friend that went along with Lord Byron was named John Polidori. Mr. Polidori, Dr. Polidori, was 20 years old at the time. Keep that in mind here because I'm insanely jealous of what he was able to do at 20 years old. But at 20 years of age, he wrote The Vampire. I know, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein and John Polidori wrote The Vampire. And from The Vampire stems the vampire milieu. We are still, to this day, writing and doing screenplays and poetry and books and movies, all this good stuff about vampires. We're morphing and manipulating this wonderful creature because of John Polidori. Hats off to this 20-year-old kid. Wow, I cannot hide my jealousy. I am green with jealousy because of what this kid was able to do. Oh, but I'm so thankful that he did it. And rumor has it that he based his character, Lord Rathven, on Lord Byron, which is interesting. Unfortunately, like a couple years later, when the book was actually released, he had a falling out with Lord Byron, which is really a shame. But be that as it may, the book was published. We've got it. It's amazing to feed our imaginations with. The poem that kind of inspired Polidori is The Jower. And I wanted to kind of just talk about that a little bit and encourage you guys to get your hands on The Jower. It's out there on the web. You can read it for free. I encourage you to read it for Halloween. Let it stoke your creative mind for Halloween. I see The Jower done a little bit in sort of a way that's like The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And let me explain, because some of you are out there going, what? Let me explain what I mean by that. In The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, the rhyme is the poem and the ancient mariner is the storyteller. He's the guy who stops the wedding guests on the way to the wedding and says, hey, I've got this tale to tell you. And I kind of see The Jower in that sort of light. The Jower is told by a narrator who's giving this story, but he's only giving bits and pieces of the story. He's not giving you the whole thing. It's a Turkish tale told in fragments, according to Byron. And it's got romance to it. It's got scenes of war and battle to it. It's got deception, and it's got a little bit of everything stuffed in there, including this vampiric-like creature. One of the things I wanted to, I'm not going to read you the whole thing. Trust me, it'll take forever, and you don't want to hear me read this whole thing. But one of the things I wanted to share with you was this passage. It says, "'Tis said he goes to woo a bride, more true than her who left his side, the faithless slave that broke her bower, and worse than faithless for a Jower." I mean, we have the story of a slave who was unfaithful to her master, and the story is of a the lover who is seeking vengeance on the master who basically killed her. But is she really dead? Well, no, she's vampiric. I mean, it's a fantastic tale. It's a fantastic epic poem. I so totally encourage people to read it. It's beautifully done because Lord Byron wrote it and he's a genius. But I totally encourage people. The Jower by Lord Byron, and I will put a link to a free PDF version of it in the comments in the drop down box below, so you can go find it. You know, I'm sure you can buy copies of it on Amazon. I don't remember where I got my copy. Be that as it may, let's indulge me for a moment while I talk about vampires. The whole reason I need to do this video is so I can have a marketing piece that I can point to when I start doing big marketing for my next book that's coming out. My 2 or 3 fans out there will be excited to know that May Your Heart Be Light finally has its sequel coming out. And that sequel, My Faerie Valentine, any day now, I'll have news for you. Any day now. But it's got, it's kind of campy. It's got a vampire in it. And that's coming up. So, vampire talk. Yay! I dig the vampires. I've been hooked on vampires for a very long time. And I can't really point to like the one thing about them that I'm so intrigued by. I don't know what it is, whether it's the way their shadows can move things, whether it's the telepathic abilities. I'm not sure what exactly it is about the vampires, but boy, they're such a cool creature. There's so much mythos around them, and so many screenwriters and authors, poets have added to the genre over the years that there are a lot of bits and pieces that you can pick from and choose to include in your mythos if you're writing about them. And I like that too. I can remember when I was a kid, and you guys know I'm terrible with dates and numbers. Ugh. Anyway, when I was a kid, probably 9, 10, 11, in that age range, I remember walking through the living room and there was a movie on TV, and the scene that I saw was in a morgue, and the coroner had his back to a table. On the table was a vampire. Nobody knew it was a vampire in that scene, but the gal on the table, she was under a sheet, she's lying there, and as I was walking into the living room, the scene happened where she sat up, and she sits up perfectly. Like the abdominal muscle strength of the actress was spot on. I mean, it was amazing. So she sits up, this like absolute perfect, scary moment, and it scared the crap out of me. As a child, I saw this and went, oh my God, what's happening here? Kudos to the cinematographer, kudos to the actress, kudos to the lighting crew. I don't think there was any music behind it. I don't think there was a music bed making it more scary. It was just what I was seeing was frightening. Scared the crap out of me. I've been hooked ever since. I loved it. I thought, this is amazing. What's going on in this movie? I've been intrigued by vampires ever since. And it doesn't hurt that they're like this sensual, gorgeous creature, right? I mean, well, most of them are this sensual, gorgeous creature. I mean, if you look at 30 Days of Night, not sensual and gorgeous, but still awesome and amazing. I mean, even the scary vampires, the bloodthirsty, gross vampires are still intriguing, powerful, and usually still have that like seductive voice that can like pull you in and then kill you. Still cool creatures. I mean, there's just something about the vampire that I think we humans look to and go, ooh, what is this? What's happening here? What's going on? I want to know more about this creature and how it's affecting and ripping people apart. Interesting stuff. There you go. Is that all we needed to talk about for this video? Maybe, perhaps. Tell me about your favorite vampire series below. Seriously, I loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The movie maybe, but the series was just fun, campy, enjoyable. And then the Angel spinoff, fun, campy, enjoyable. I really enjoyed those series. I loved Being Human, the American version. Okay, I really enjoyed the British version, the first 3 seasons at least, because Aidan Turner, just hot like the rising sun, enjoyed him as a vampire. Just a lot of interesting vampire stuff over the years. Did I tell you I met Anne Rice? Oh, lovely. She's just amazing, wonderful woman, and her creativity is through the roof. So meeting her was a moment. Yeah. So in fact, indulge me, one more thing I want to tell you. When I read the interview with the vampire, as I was reading through it, when Louis gives his name to the interviewer, it startled me. It shook me. As I was reading the book, I can remember, way back then when I was reading that, when it first came out, I was reading through, and when he gave his name to the interviewer, the way Anne Rice wrote that was spectacular. Because when the name came up, I was like, oh my God, that's it. Whoa. It startled me. And the way she was able to do that and give me like a jump scare from the page was amazing. Kudos to Anne Rice. She's fantastic. Love her. Love her vampires. So yeah, as I was saying, please share in the comment field below your favorite vampire series and why. Let's talk about vampires because they're intriguing. They're magnificent in their awfulness, right? I think that's it for now. I'm going to encourage you, as I always do, to subscribe to the channel, and please hit the bell icon because I have become very random in the way I update this channel. And so you're not going to know when things are happening unless you're subscribed and notified, right? Okay. I think that's all I've got for now. Have a great and safe, wonderful Halloween. Hope you don't get bit by any vampires, and we'll see you next time.